Look at that poll, Vinny. I don't mean to interrupt you.
Do your thing.
What late night show do you watch? 1,800 voters.
Good for you guys.
96% said none.
Yeah.
2% Fallon. 1% Kimmel. 1% Colbert. Oh my God.
I'm so proud of every single one of you. Good for you. Don't give them any energy because it's not comedy. It's propaganda. They're all getting paid to do what they're doing. They're not about making people laugh anymore. It's just an agenda. I'm sick and tired of it. Let's just talk about these people. Jimmy Kimmel, who is one of the most unfunniest people on the planet. He's labeled as a stand-up comedian. Who's ever watched Jimmy Kimmel? Have any of you guys seen his special? Anybody?
Picture this. Megyn Kelly and Patrick Bet-David teaming up like a ruthless tag team dropping truth bombs with sniper precision. Meanwhile, Jimmy Kimmel, he's the unlucky pinata caught in the crossfire. But this isn't your average late night jab fest. This is a verbal demolition derby where every punchline hits harder than your triple shot espresso. Wondering how Kimmel handled the heat? Spoiler, he didn't. He bailed before the final blow even landed. This takedown is packed with savage one-liners and twist moments you'll never see coming.
You all know what they saw. They saw what we saw. They saw the frail elderly man who needed help getting off the stage. They're just too chicken to tell us about it because they accurately deduce that he could still be the Democratic nominee and they don't want to ding him up. Maybe you give Barbara a pass. Who gives a damn what this singer saw or says? But you know what? Jimmy Kimmel happens to be employed by ABC, which happens to have a rather large news organization. And he has been one of President Trump's most vocal critics. Where are you, Jimmy? On vacation? Not good enough. You can still use your thumbs to send out a tweet. You could set the record straight right now, but you won't.
Jimmy Kimmel, the man whose late night show is as subtle as a foghorn in a library, and whose humor somehow manages to be both painfully predictable and aggressively mediocre. You know the type, he swings at political pinatas with all the finesse of a toddler on a sugar rush and calls it satire. But behind that trademark smirk is the real issue, a comedy style so shallow, it couldn't dive into anything meaningful even if it were handed a full tank of scuba gear.
I'm not hysterical. I laugh when people say, oh, you've got Trump derangement syndrome. If you're a reasonable person, you should have Trump derangement syndrome. And by the way, I think he has derangement syndrome about us, too. The fact of the matter is, this is a dangerous person. This is a stupid person. And that's a bad combination.
What a shame. What a shame that a late night show host that millions of people used to watch you. And they probably still do, but it's not as high as it used to be. And you just call the president stupid?
First up, Megyn Kelly, the former news anchor known for slicing through nonsense like a hot knife through bad cable TV. She's not here to play nice or stick to safe talking points. Nope. Megyn sees Jimmy's comedy for what it is, a watered-down mix of cheap laughs and lazy punchlines that no one should be proud of. Think of it like a fast food combo meal, quick, greasy, and instantly forgettable. That's Kimmel's humor in a nutshell, and she's not buying it.
Yep. More than half of America voted for him. You just disrespected 51% of America? What a shame. It's unbelievably unattractive and not working. Your business model is not working. MSNBC's business model is not working. NBA is not working because they're disrespecting the customer. Who the hell are you, Jimmy? You have a job because of your customers. Capitalism will eventually fire you, unfortunately. For some, fortunately.
Kelly's first jab, Jimmy's brand of humor is a textbook example of how to turn political conversation into a party trick gone wrong. Instead of using his platform to elevate discourse or challenge the powerful, he shoots for the lowest common denominator, the kind of jokes scribbled on a bathroom wall or yelled by a guy in socks and sandals. It's the comedy version of reheated leftovers. No freshness, no spice, just a sad rerun of the same worn-out punchlines.
Last night was the 96th Academy Awards show, and while you might have missed it, there was one clear winner. No, not Oppenheimer. It was sanctimonious leftists for their lead role in pretending they are better than you. Winner number one, Jimmy Kimmel. For the fourth time, Kimmel hosted the Oscars before an adoring crowd of Hollywood stars who laughed and curried favor with the man who wore blackface so many times. Yes, some of the very same celebrities who wanted you to believe they were horrified after yours truly said in 2018 that people used to don dark makeup in order to imitate well-known Black celebrities and it wasn't a big deal. Absolutely ate up the performance by Hollywood darling Mr. Kimmel, whose blackface costumes included his oft-repeated bit as basketball star Karl Malone.
Now, Karl Malone never seen no flying saucer himself, but if he do, that's gonna be a spooky time.
And don't get Kelly started on the hypocrisy. Jimmy's comedy picks its battles like a kid playing, dodgeball dodging anything that might ruffle feathers in his social circle or network. He's quick to take aim at some targets, but treats others like untouchable celebrities in a velvet-troped VIP club. It's a one-sided roast where half the room doesn't even get mentioned. The irony? This inconsistency doesn't make him edgy, it makes him predictable and honestly a little boring. The guy has the stage, yet somehow avoids the spotlight. When it actually counts, then there's the missed opportunity. Kelly's convinced that with a platform as massive as Kimmel's, he could spark deeper conversations, break echo chambers, and challenge how people think. But instead, he's out here handing punchlines like Halloween candy safe, sweet and completely forgettable. If you're looking for a host who can both entertain and enlighten, keep looking. Kimmel's idea of challenging the status quo is recycling the same political jokes that were tired back in 2008. Now switch gears to Patrick Bet-David. Here's a guy who doesn't play with fluff or performative outrage. Patrick's the kind of commentator who slices through cultural noise like a samurai sword through sushi. He doesn't just see Kimmel as a comic, he sees him as a cultural gatekeeper who show shapes how millions interpret politics and society, and Patrick's verdict? It's not a flattering one.
Next story here is Jimmy Kimmel. So first of all, Robert Downey Jr., congratulations, he wins his first Oscars. Starts to joke, trying to be funny, and he says the following, just listen to this, and I just want you to tell me, if you, maybe I'm wrong, maybe my humor sucked. I didn't find anything funny about what the man said on how he changed his life on the night he was about to win his first Oscar.
This is the highest point of Robert Downey Jr.'s long and illustrious career. Well, one of the highest points.
Maybe it's funny. I
Robert
don't find it funny at all.
No, it's not.
Playing it off.
Yeah, he's being a professional.
Was that too on the nose, or is that a drug motion you made?
Just keep going. Just keep going. Yeah, move on.
He's won every award there is to win. Is that an acceptance speech in your pocket, or do you just have a very rectangular?
Like,
He's acting. He's acting, meaning he can't stand any of the jokes that are being said.
I don't know who labeled Jimmy Kimmel a comedian.
Patrick's biggest issue with Kimmel is how his humor twists public perception. Comedy can be a powerful tool. It can challenge authority, expose truths, and spark real dialogue. But when it relies on oversimplified narratives and cherry-picked facts, it stops being comedy and starts being propaganda in disguise. Kimmel's jokes don't just entertain, they shape narratives, reinforce biases, and steer audiences toward predictable conclusions without them even noticing. It's like passing out Kool-Aid with punchlines instead of sugar. But Patrick goes deeper. He argues that Kimmel fails to show real leadership in cultural conversation. With a platform that massive, Kimmel could push viewers to think critically, face uncomfortable truths, or at least explore more nuanced perspectives. Instead, he plays it safe, serving up shallow humor that divides more than it connects. It's a stage full of laughter, sure, but the voices that need to be heard are left out of the room. Then comes the commercialization angle. Patrick sees Kimmel's show not as bold commentary, but as a polished product engineered for mass appeal. The punchlines aren't crafted to provoke thought, they're designed to spike ratings and sell ad space. It's late-night comedy with a corporate smile, carefully packaged to keep the machine running. And that, Patrick says, is where the real punchline lands, not in the joke, but in the missed chance to actually mean something.
Just this past 2 weeks, they had the Kennedy Center honors the other night where Joe Biden couldn't say Dionne Warwick. He kept calling her Diane, and he didn't know who Barry Gibb was. He kept calling him Billy. You know who else was honored at the Kennedy Center? You know who else? Billy Crystal. Just FYI, do you know who once opened up the Academy Awards in full blackface?
Oh,
Billy
yeah.
Crystal. Billy Crystal. And do you know who's going to be hosting the Academy Awards this year? Jimmy Kimmel. Do you know who's worn blackface repeatedly and spoken inner city sort of urban accent saying she needs to darn those socks? Jimmy Kimmel as Oprah, as a fat-suited, black-faced, darning socks Oprah.
Authenticity sacrificed at the altar of entertainment value. This is comedy treated as a business model, where if the joke doesn't sell, it's cut quicker than a viral TikTok dance. The problem? Political satire becomes a circus act. Bright lights, loud laughs, but no real weight. When you combine Megyn Kelly's journalistic eye for substance with Patrick Bet-David's sharp cultural lens, you get a pretty brutal view of Jimmy Kimmel's late-night empire. It's like watching a reality show that's mastered distraction but failed miserably at delivering meaning. Kimmel's comedy reduces serious issues into throwaway punchlines, ones that don't resonate but definitely divide, like confetti tossed at a parade. This kind of selective humor doesn't spark thought. It feeds echo chambers, making audiences feel comfortable in their own biases instead of pushing them to think differently. And here's the grand irony. While Kimmel positions himself as the voice of progressive comedy, his entire approach might be causing more harm than good in an already splintered cultural environment. It's almost tragic. Here's a guy with one of the largest platforms in America, the ability to shape national conversations, and he settles for worn-out gags and safe jabs. He could be the late-night host who inspires dialogue, who helps bridge divides. But instead, he chooses the easy road, predictable laughs, shallow outrage, and a spotlight that somehow avoids shining on anything real.
Oh, wow.
Donald Trump broke him.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go.
Oh my God.
Legit, climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's be honest.
These people are
Wait. Let's
lunatics.
scrap that. Bad night, you just don't know it yet. Let's look at that in a year. Let's look at that in 2 years. Let's see what's going on. Hell, let's look at that in 2 quarters after inauguration.
Meanwhile, the real issues, the complex, nuanced, and often uncomfortable conversations get left on the cutting room floor. Step back for a moment and look at the combined firepower of Megyn Kelly's no-nonsense journalistic lens and Patrick Bet-David's strategic cultural breakdown, and a disturbing pattern starts to emerge, equal parts hilarious and terrifying. Jimmy Kimmel's style, which might seem like harmless late-night banter, actually causes real damage. Not intentionally. Of course, it's the kind of unintentional mess that's like setting off a glitter bomb in a library, loud, chaotic, and impossible to clean up. Kimmel's approach turns serious topics into passing guests on a reality TV show, exaggerated, easily mocked, and dismissed before the next commercial break. The depth and complexity of real-world problems get flattened into one-liners so thin you could wipe down a windshield with them. Climate change? A throwaway gag about a polar bear with sunscreen, healthcare. A weak jab at hospital wait times that barely brushes the edge of a collapsing system. It's like showing up to a wildfire with a water pistol. Sure, you get a few laughs, maybe cool down the surface, but the fire keeps raging underneath. What's lost is the opportunity to educate, challenge, and inspire. And that, in the eyes of both Kelly and Patrick, is more than just lazy, it's a missed chance, with real-world consequences.
You got the Sunday morning show with Stephanopoulos into the evening Academy Awards broadcast with Kimmel, and ABC elevating, the blackface loving Kimmel. They, at the same time, fired Chris Harrison, host of The Bachelor, for trying to defend one contestant on The Bachelorette for saying, gee, I know I went to this antebellum party, a couple years ago. I guess I didn't see anything wrong with it. And all he said was, are we judging her by today's standards, or are we judging her by, old standards, whatever. He was basically trying to say, are we being too hard on her? Got fired. Chris Harrison has to be fired by ABC. I don't know why, because he's not a committed leftist, because he's not out there more saying all the terrible things about Republicans that Jimmy Kimmel says. So this is them saying, we get it. We're an ally, right? And I guess maybe they're trying to make up with their racist past without ever acknowledging it.
This kind of trivialization doesn't just make people laugh, it reshapes how they feel about serious issues. When comedy reduces everything to a punchline, it sends a quiet, Dangerous message. These problems don't deserve real attention. They're just tonight's entertainment snack. And that's where it gets risky. Because comedy, when done right, can be a powerful vehicle for truth and change, but only if it's willing to dig deep, not just skim across the surface. Unfortunately, with Kimmel, the surface is exactly where the party stays. And then there's the elephant in the studio audience, selective humor. Megyn Kelly wasn't being dramatic when she pointed out that Kimmel picks his comedy targets like a gambler choosing safe bets carefully, calculatedly, and always avoiding anything that might rattle the house. That selective aim fuels echo chambers, those cozy little bubbles where everyone laughs at the same targets and agrees on the same take. Kimmel's jokes don't burst those bubbles, they inflate them, blowing up confirmation bias like a pufferfish on caffeine. The result? Audiences get stuck in insulated little echo zones, where new perspectives aren't welcomed, they're ignored, mocked, or dismissed from a distance. And that's not comedy that sparks conversation or encourages growth. That's comedy that builds walls, reinforcing division and turning meaningful dialogue into a one-sided laugh track. It entertains, sure, but at the cost of understanding and maybe even truth.
This is a community that maybe has been having one too many drinks. The late night comedy spent shows 2024 bashing Trump as viewership continues to crash. Vinny, I'm coming to you on this one here, so
Okay.
get your data ready. Rob, I think you got a video on this. Late night comedy hosts like Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel focus heavily on Trump in 2024 with, ready, 98% of the 1,463 election-related jokes targeting who?
And those walls? They're not just metaphors, they're real dividing lines, slicing through friendships, families, and the national conversation like a hot knife through a pumpkin spice latte. Now imagine if Kimmel flipped the script. Imagine. If his platform wasn't just a funhouse mirror reflecting back easy laughs, but an actual stage where cultural divides were bridged instead of widened. Patrick Bet-David's critique hits this missed opportunity hard. With millions tuning in every night, Kimmel could challenge his audience to question their own assumptions, confront uncomfortable truths, or at the very least laugh with others instead of at them. But he doesn't. Instead, the show's tone is less, let's talk it out, and more, let's point and giggle, but not too loud. It's comedy handed out like a numbing agent, soothing on the surface, but doing nothing to heal. And in today's hypercharged political climate, where people are already on edge, this kind of content doesn't calm the fire, it adds fuel to it. By avoiding real challenges and sticking to surface-level jabs, Kimmel plays directly into the hands of polarization, keeping everyone laughing in their own corners while the conversation dies in the middle. The irony? It's sharp and bitter. Kimmel aims to entertain and inform, an honorable goal for any late-night host, but the path he's chosen, a cocktail of safe shots and shallow swipes, might be doing more harm than good. It's like trying to fight a fire with gasoline labeled comedy. The flames might look bright, but underneath, it's only getting hotter.
Now, I will tell you, he's not the worst. The Daily Show has the worst ratings. They only have 366,000 people watching that show. During the Jon Stewart years, it was over 2 million. Now it's down to 300,000. Seth Meyers, absolutely dreadful. He doesn't even have 1,778,000. I mean, for network television, this is, you don't have to pay for it. It's there when you turn on your TV, you plug it in. That's a dreadful number. Greg Gutfeld on cable, which you do have to pay for, it has more than double the numbers of Seth Meyers. Jimmy Kimmel, 1.5 million, averaging, also equally horrible. And
Here's where Kelly and Bet-David's critiques strike their hardest. The realization that entertainment, especially comedy, is never truly neutral. It holds power. Power to shape public opinion, frame national debates, and influence how society evolves. And when that power is used carelessly, whether through laziness, fear, or calculated bias, it fosters a culture that's more divided and less informed. That's the real takeaway here. This isn't just about Jimmy Kimmel's punchlines or performance. It's about the broader role that media figures play in steering conversations that matter. Every skit, every one-liner, every laugh line contributes to a larger story that tells people what to think, how to feel, and what to believe. When that story is overly simplified, selectively told, or shallow, the entire public discourse suffers. It matters because in an era where misinformation spreads faster than a cat video and political polarization cuts deeper than ever, the last thing we need is a comedian accidentally fanning the flames. What we need is comedy that punches up, not sideways, comedy that connects, enlightens, and dares to challenge rather than divide. Watching critical voices like Megyn Kelly and Patrick Bet-David is rare but necessary. Kelly's no-nonsense journalism strips away the jokes to reveal the vacuum underneath, while Bet-David's cultural dissection puts those gaps in broader context, highlighting the long-term impact of comedic choices. Together, they offer a clearer vision of what comedy could be and what it must avoid. So next time a late-night host cracks wise about politics or social issues, pause and ask, is this just a distraction? Or is it shaping something deeper? Because as Kelly and Bet-David make crystal clear, comedy isn't just about getting laughs. It's about how we talk about who we are, what we believe, and what kind of society we want to build. And that's no joke. Megyn Kelly and Patrick Bet-David aren't dragging Kimmel for fun, they're sounding the alarm. A reminder that in the age of platforms and megaphones, media voices carry a responsibility far bigger than ratings. When comedy becomes a lazy tool that reinforces division or avoids depth, it fails not just its audience, but the society it claims to entertain. And that kind of failure? It's more than just disappointing, it's a lost chance to make things better.